on the Southwest Network of Radio Nigeria. The time is 2 o'clock.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of The World Today. It is a Southwest Network program of Radio Nigeria, Ibadan Zonal Station, comprising news, feature and sports. In the lineup, INEC organizes training for security personnel. Stakeholders raise alarm over shortage of nurses. Uganda President Museveni sworn in for 7th term from the foreign scene. US to discuss arms sale to Taiwan. Part of the matter is on continued concerns about insecurity in Nigeria, while feature is on Ogbomoso. My name is Olubukola Enimola. Reading with me this afternoon is
Olushola Akirapo. You can listen to us live streamed via www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng or watch us live on Facebook at Premier FM 93.5. Nigeria belongs to us all. Contribute your quota to make her great. Now the news in detail. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC in Ekiti State has extended its training to security personnel ahead of the June 20 governorship election in the state. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner Dr. Bumi Omosa Indemi, who declared the training open in Ekiti, the state capital, said this became necessary to prepare the officers for the election, promising that the commission would continue to form synergy with security agencies to ensure peaceful conduct of the poll. Beg your pardon. On his part, the State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Falade Michael, pledged that adequate security would be provided across the state during the election and sought the cooperation of all the stakeholders to make the exercise a violence-free one. In the remarks, the Director of Security, INEC Headquarters, Abuja, Mrs. Ndidi Okafo, and the Commissioner of Police in charge of the electoral body in Abuja, Mr. Egbepreya Raymond, urged security personnel to be deployed to Ekiti State to embrace professionalism in the discharge of their duties. Some of the participants at the training, including the Ekiti State Police Command spokesperson, Mr. Sandy Aboto, described the program as a welcome development with a promise to put into practice the lessons learned. Radio Nigeria correspondents gathered that security personnel drawn from the Nigerian Police, Military Department of State Services, Federal Safety Corps, Civil Defense Fire Service, Nigerian Immigration Service, and Nigerian Customs Service attended the training.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has reiterated its commitment towards conducting credible, free, inclusive and transparent election during the Osun State governorship election poll scheduled for 15th of August this year. Osun State Resident Electoral Commissioner Mrs. Oluwatoyin Babalola gave the assurance while addressing newsmen in her office in Osogbo. Mrs. Babalola, who described media as a critical stakeholder in the election process, tasked the media to correct of information and disinformation about election matters.
We always advise media organizations to get accredited, to register in the portal so that they get accredited.
Mrs. Babalola added that the Commission would continue to ensure regular training and retraining of its ad hoc staff for optimal performance.
Similarly, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it will deploy over 1.4 million National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) members for the 2027 general elections nationwide. Chairman of INEC, Professor Joash Amukpetan, made this known During a courtesy visit to the NYSC leadership in Abuja, he met the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Olakunle Nofiu, to strengthen electoral collaboration. A statement issued by the Chief Press Secretary to the INEC Chairman, Mr. Adedayo Kitola, highlighted Professor Amokutan's remarks on NYSC's importance. Professor Amokutan said the NYSC remained a critical pillar in Nigeria's democratic and electoral architecture. The INEC boss said core members had consistently supported elections since the return to democracy in 1999 and the serve as backbone of field election operations across the country.
An aspirant for the Osun West Senatorial District, Chief Peter Ogundeji, popularly known as Apata, says the people of the district deserve quality representation at the National Assembly, which he is prepared to provide. Speaking with Radio Nigeria in Abuja after successfully scaling through the party's senatorial screening, Chief Ogundeji explained that if allowed to serve, his major focus would be human capital development. Chief Ogundeji noted that human capital development had become a vital tool for tackling poverty and hunger among the masses, adding that this was already being pursued through his foundation while addressing readiness to do more if elected senator. Chief Ogundeji stated that it is evident across Osun West that he was empowered and has empowered thousands of people through skills acquisition programs and the provision of working equipment. He added that over 500 trainees currently undergoing apprenticeship in different vocations would be empowered upon graduation in November this year. The senatorial aspirant also promised to provide more scholarships for youths to pursue their chosen careers and contribute meaningfully to the society, in addition to attracting more federal presence to the state. Chief Ogundeji assured the people of Osun West Senatorial District that, having worked closely with the National Assembly, he has acquired the required experience and knowledge to make meaningful contributions to the development of the state and the country at large.
The Senate has called for renewed synergy among agricultural research institutes, colleges of agriculture, and key stakeholders in the sector to achieve food security in Nigeria. Chairman, Senate Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions, Senator Sarafuddin Ali, made the call a media parley held at the Nigeria Union of Journalists and Nigeria Press Center in Ibadan, Oyo State. Senator Ali said the media engagement was part of the activities marking the maiden National Legislative Summit and Expo on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions, which begins today. Senator Ali, who is representing Oyo South Senatorial District, said there was a disconnect between agricultural research institutions and the farmers, noting that the summit was designed to create collaboration between the farmers and the institutions. Also speaking, Executive Director of the National Horticultural Research Institute, Professor Lawal Atanda, described the summit as the first of its kind in the sector, expressing optimism that it would strengthen legislative frameworks and provide a roadmap for sustainable development. On its part, the Acting Executive Director of the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, CRIN, Dr. Rashida Adedeji, called for the need for private sector to support research institutions through funding. Collaborating Executive Director, Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, IAR&T, Professor Oluwatosin Gabriel, said research has remained key to national development and food security.
The Ogun State House of Assembly Committee on Finance and Appropriations has commenced the first quarter budget performance assessment of ministries, departments and agencies in the state. To this end, the committee charged the Ministry of Information to sustain its revenue generation drive and effective service delivery in support of information dissemination and feedback management aimed at promoting and developmental agenda of the present administration. Chairman of the committee, Mr. Musafi Ulamidi, gave the charge alongside other lawmakers during an interface with officials of the Ministry of Information and its agencies at the Assembly Complex, Okemuson, Abeokuta. The officials were led by the Special Advisor to the Governor of Media and Communications, Mr. Kayode Akimade. The committee commended the Ministry of Information for its impressive revenue performance between January and March this year.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark this year's International Nurses Day, medical experts have called on government at all levels to address the health sector workforce crisis in the country. The celebration held in honor of Florence Nightingale's legacy focuses on the need to empower nurses through safe workplaces, improved welfare packages and leadership opportunities. Correspondent Abdul Quadri Oyinola completes the story.
Speaking on the significance of the day in Abeokuta, the chairman, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Ogun State Chapter, Mrs. Adejoke Bello, said over 3,000 nurses had resigned and migrated abroad, leaving the remaining workforce overwhelmed and psychologically stressed. Mrs. Bello explained that the increasing workload had contributed to exhaustion among healthcare workers.
A lot from the government side increased the intake of the nursing students in our colleges and the universities. There should be a way of retaining the students. If this can be put into places, issue will be a bit separate.
She appealed to nursing professionals in the country to remain committed to serving Nigerians, especially vulnerable citizens who could not afford medical treatment abroad. In a contribution, the Director of Nursing Service, Ogun State Ministry of Health, Dr. Sherifat Aminu, said Nigeria had lost more than 75,000 nurses and midwives to migration in the last 5 years. Dr. Aminu stressed that the development had created thousands of vacant clinical positions, hospitals across the country, and urged the government to address the challenging confronting health workers by providing incentives and recruiting more personnel.
The brain drain is actually beginning to want to start turning to brain drain for us. That does not really erase the fact that we have a lot of them out there which are actually affected us. What I'm trying to say, we are grossly short-term.
In separate contribution, some residents, Mr. Alabi Bright, Mrs. Karimot Hassan, and Mrs. Rahmat Ahmad, said celebrating nurses once a year was not enough. They maintained that without investment in employment, safety and leadership opportunities, the workforce crisis will continue to affect healthcare delivery. The respondent called for urgent actions to address the worsening shortage of nurses, which they said was putting pressure on hospitals and threatening patient care.
Government should increase the health funding and better conditions for staff in the health sector.
Government should try as much as possible to employ more nurses. Training of nurses on modern equipment should be given consideration to reduce their workload.
Nurses are needed to be celebrated with adequate job security and career prospects.
They also urged nursing practitioners to lead with purpose and continue to advocate patient safety. The theme for this year's celebration is Our Nurses, Our Future. Empowered Nurses Save Lives. In Abeokuta, Abdul Quadri Oyinola, Radio Nigeria.
The need to increase the number of nurses in government-owned hospitals to effectively cater for the increasing number of patients has been emphasized. Some stakeholders made the call in Osogbo while speaking with Radio Nigeria on the occasion of International Nurses Day. Our correspondent Mojisola Oladile completes the story.
In 1974, the International Council of Nurses (ICN) set aside 12th May as International Nurses Day (IND). The day marks the birth of Florence Nightingale, the foundational philosopher of modern nursing, who headed a group of nurses to care for injured British soldiers during the Crimean War in 1850s. It also reflects the contributions of nurses to the health and well-being of people globally. This year's theme, Our Nurses, Our Future, Empowered Nurses Saves Lives, focuses on making structural changes needed to harness the power of the nursing workforce. Speaking with Radio Nigeria, the Deputy Director of Nursing Services, Osun State University Teaching Hospital, Osogbo, Mrs. Mojisola Akinleye, described nurses as those that are trained professionally to attend to the needs of patients in hospitals and to render care to people in the public. She decried shortage of nurses in government-owned hospitals across the country, where a nurse attends to over 20 patients against the required standard of 4 patients per nurse.
1 nurse to 4 patients. That's how it is. That's the ideal, the ideal ratio. And you now see a nurse managing 24 patients. Even when you go to some wards, at times they may even be more than that 24. So for us to be able to give our best, these aspects have to be looked into.
Mrs. Akinleye stressed the need for government and relevant stakeholders to provide the required modern-day equipment for nurses to attain efficiency in line with international best standard. Also contributing, the chairman, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Osun State Council, Mr. Wahid Oyeyemi, who noted that nurses are undervalued in Nigeria, said they should be well motivated to appreciate their services. He observed acute shortage of nurses in the country as well as poor remuneration considering the services they render to the public.
There are a lot of avoidable deaths that we are witnessing in this country, that if we have the required number of nurses on ground, especially at the grassroots, gone are the day when they say nurses are not ready to work at the ground. No. We have our nurses who are readily available and prepared to render services at our grassroots.
Mr. Oyeyemi emphasized that nurses, as one of the key stakeholders in the health sector, should be carried along while making key policies that affect them. Other respondents who spoke with Radio Nigeria decried brain drain affecting nurses, calling on government to implement retention policies that will keep professionals from leaving the country for greener pastures. In Oshogbo, Mojisola Oladele, Radio Nigeria.
This is the world today, the stories that made the headlines. INEC has organized a training for security personnel. Stakeholders raised alarm over shortage of nurses. And still to come on the news, Uganda President Museveni sworn in for the 7th term. And US to discuss arms sale to Taiwan. Stay with us.
Thank you for staying tuned. Now to the rest of the stories. Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke has summoned an emergency council meeting to put an end to the recent wave of attacks in the state. In a statement by the spokesperson for Governor Adeleke, Mr. Olawale Rashid, the meeting was convened in view of the latest attacks and destruction of public property by some suspected thugs. Mr. Rashid said the meeting focused on tackling the menace of thuggery in the state. A statement indicates that Governor Adeleke also called for the emergency meeting to question why hoodlums attack public properties and the law enforcement agency in the state refuse to make arrests or prevent such threats to public peace. The Mole Campaign Council, leading the re-election bid of Governor Adeleke last week, accused hoodlums of vandalizing campaign billboards belonging to the governor's campaign organization and the Accord. Reacting, the head of Media and Publicity Committee of the Osun State APC Governorship Campaign Council, Mr. Oluwemi Omoaye, described the allegations as false and politically motivated.
Meanwhile, the Osun State Police Command has condemned the recent vandalization and destruction of billboards and other government symbols within the state. The State Commissioner of Police, CP Osun State Command, Mr. Ibrahim Gautam, said this in a statement through the Command Public Relations Officer, Mr. Abiodun Ojelabi. Mr. Gautam described the act as a criminal one and a direct attack on public property, constituted authority, as well as the relative peace currently being enjoyed in Osun State. He stressed that such criminal activities are capable of inciting tension, causing unnecessary unrest, and undermining efforts aimed at promoting the relative peace of the state. Mr. Light urged all political parties, candidates, and their supporters to conduct the activities within the ambit of the law and in strict compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. He cautioned individuals or groups involved in the vandalization to desist from the act, as the command will not tolerate any form of criminality capable of disrupting public peace. Mr. Gautam noted that the command have commenced a discreet investigation into the incident with a view to identifying, arresting, and prosecuting the perpetrators in accordance with the law. The CP, who assured residents of its unwavering commitment to the protection of lives and property, urged all stakeholders to join hands in preserving public infrastructure and maintaining peace across the state.
The Oyo State Police Command has recorded another breakthrough in its intelligence-driven crime prevention efforts with the arrest of 3 suspects and the recovery of a locally fabricated pistol during a routine stop and search operation. The Command Public Relations Officer, DSP Olayinka Ayonlade, in a statement made available to newsmen said the incident occurred at Old Oyo Road by the American International School Bethel, Fiditi. DSP Ayonlade said operators of the Restore Peace unit intercepted a commercial bus during the search of passengers and their luggages. 3 individuals allegedly acted suspiciously and attempted to flee, attempting a swift chase that led to their arrest. A subsequent search of the suspect's luggage led to the recovery of a locally fabricated pistol and assorted charms concealed in a nylon bag. The suspects were identified as Kilani Abbas, who is 31, of Onar Amuloko area of Ibadan, Tawhid Adediwura, 38, of Kolobo area, Oyo, and Ibrahim Rafiu, 40, of Sango area, Oyo. The trio is currently in police custody while investigations continue to determine the source of the firearm, its intended use, and possible links to criminal activities. The command emphasized that the recovery underscores the effectiveness of intelligence-led stop and search operations in preventing crime and intercepting dangerous weapons before they are used.
Yoweri Museveni has been sworn in for the 7th term as president of Uganda as the Kololo Independence grants in Kampala following his victory in the January 2026 elections. Museveni won with 71.65% of the vote, defeating his main challenger, 43-year-old Bobi Wine, who received 24.72% of the vote, according to the official results. The 81-year-old leader took his oath for another 5-year term, continuing his tenure as one of Africa's longest-serving leader. Museveni, born 1944 in Mbara district area of Uganda, has served as president since 1986.
President Donald Trump says he is ready to discuss U.S. arms sales to Taiwan during his visit to Beijing this week, noting that his personal chemistry with the counterpart Xi Jinping will prevent a Chinese invasion of the island. President Trump will also bring along top U.S. executives, including his former Mrs. Elon Musk and Apple Tim Cook, for a trip expected to focus heavily on the U.S. president's hopes to ramp up trade. China said it hoped to achieve greater stability between the world's 2 largest economies during the visit, which will hold from Wednesday to Friday, the first by a U.S. president since Trump went in 2017.
And now to sport. The Ibadan International Polo Tournament has officially kicked off yesterday with 6 teams playing in the Adealakija Memorial Cup. The tournament was started by the Olubadan of Ibadan, Oba Adeyewu Ladoja, represented by Balogun of Ibadan Land, Obatajuddin Ajibola. In the opening match, the Kano Golden Ibori locked on with AA Ibadan, Rice Imperial Polo, as Black and Edit Lagos tackled AA MSI Lagos, while AA Port Harcourt slugged it out with Ibadan District Sobetra. Outcome of the game saw Kano Golden Ibori scoring 4.5 goals to defeat Ibadan Rice Imperial, which had scored 3. In another match, Lagos MSI scored 7 goals to conquer Lagos Black, the Edit that left the pitch with 1 goal. The game ended with Ibadan defeating Port Harcourt by 5 goals to 3. 4 teams, including Ibadan LCG 3, Ibadan LCG Rongtai, Ibadan Lazy and Ibadan Los Hams North, had earlier played on Sunday due to the increase in the number of participating teams. The Sunday match saw LCG Rongtai defeating Ibadan LCG by 8 goals to 3, while Ibadan Los Hams North humbled Ibadan Lazy by 13 goals to 5.5 goals. Addressing the participating team, Obajibola said it was heartwarming that the tournament, which coincided with the 120th anniversary of the tournament, attested to the frontline position that Ibadan occupied in Nigeria. In an interview, the president of Ibadan Polo Club, Mr. Bola Adeyemi, said the tournament was historic not only due to its coincidence with the 120 years anniversary, but due to the increase in the number of participating teams. The Adealakija Memorial Cup category continues today at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
In today's Heart of the Matter, Funmilola Obagbayegun of our Current Affairs Unit writes on continued concerns about insecurity in Nigeria.
Nigeria's internal security situation has remained a major source of concern for citizens as banditry, kidnapping, insurgency and other crimes continue to threaten lives, disrupt economic activities, and undermine public confidence in government and its leadership. Despite ongoing military operations and government interventions, recent events show that these challenges are still persisting. Banditry, particularly in the northwest and parts of north-central Nigeria, has evolved into a persistent crisis. Armed groups frequently raid villages, rustle cattle, and attack travelers along major highways. Some states in the country have repeatedly witnessed violent attacks that leave communities displaced and livelihoods destroyed. Kidnapping has also grown into a lucrative criminal enterprise across the country, from highways to schools and even places of worship. No location appears entirely safe. The abduction of school children in recent years have drawn national and international outrage, highlighting the vulnerability of educational institutions. Families are often forced to pay huge ransoms while victims suffer psychological trauma. The persistence of such incidents suggests that kidnapping is no longer an occasional crime but a structured business driven by ransom. In the northeast, insurgency led by extremist groups like Boko Haram continues to pose a serious threat. Although the military has recorded some successes in reclaiming territories, attacks on communities and security personnel still occur. Recent developments across the country reinforce these concerns. Reports from fresh attacks on rural communities, abduction of students, and ambushes on security personnel show that insecurity remains widespread. Even in regions previously considered relatively stable, cases of kidnapping and armed robbery are on the rise, suggesting a dangerous spread of criminal activities beyond traditional hotspots. Many questions in the heart of many is that several factors contribute to the persistence of these security challenges, such as high level of unemployment and poverty makes it easier for criminal groups to recruit young people. Weak intelligence gathering, inadequate security infrastructure, and porous borders further complicate efforts to combat these threats. In response, government has intensified military operations, increased surveillance, and engaged in negotiations in some cases. However, many citizens feel that these measures have not yielded sufficient results. There is a growing call for a more comprehensive approach that includes not only security measures but also economic development, community engagement, and reforms in the security sector. Addressing this challenge demands a coordinated effort involving government, security agencies, and local communities. Without decisive action, these threats may continue to escalate, posing even greater risks in national stability and development.
That script on continued concerns about insecurity in Nigeria was written by Funmilola Obagbayegun of our Current Affairs Unit and read by Daya Adenuga.
That's it on the world today. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. Rashida Makinde edited. My name is Olushola Akeropo and my colleague
Olubukola Enimola. Thank you for listening. Shortly we'll be linking up with our network studio in Abuja for the next program. Do stay with us.
My name is Mary Jane Ebu.